I'm Chuck Schaefer, and today I'm joined by Leslie Stretch, President and CEO of CallidusCloud, also known as Callidus Software. Welcome, Leslie, and thank you for joining me today.
That's great to meet you, Chuck.
Leslie, I'd like to start our conversation with a little upfront context and then expand upon that learning. I'm not aware of any consensus industry definition for your company's application portfolio. I know that Gartner categorizes you as Sales Performance Management, or SPM,
Yeah.
and I know that your organization often uses the phrase Sales and Marketing Effectiveness Software. But how do you describe your company's products and the value proposition to the marketplace?
Sure. I think the way I think about the problems we're trying to solve, we're trying to automate the pieces of the process that help salespeople do their job better, and we call it lead to money. So if you think about the needs of a sales force, they need leads, they need to be qualified, they need to create proposals, the proposals need to become contracts, and then they get paid commission. Commission's the money, the marketing automation's the lead. And I think I'm trying to simplify what the industry, or I would characterize as the prior cloud movement, have put into silos, because it's a classic first generation of a new business, and they were solving point problems, whereas the customer's problem is a lead to money one. I want more leads and to make more money.
Very good. How do you define your customers, or excuse me, your company's target market? Or maybe put another way, how would a sales and marketing executive self-identify as being a strong prospect for your company's solutions?
So that's a great question. Our business historically has, we're approaching 130 million run rate in the business. And for a relatively small company, but getting larger software company, we have a disproportionate number of Fortune 500 clients. And there's no reason for that other than the need, I think, that we've uncovered in those large clients. But we now have a growing small-medium business. And there is a difference in both of the markets. The small-medium business, we're seeing a lot more traction with the lead-to-money cloud story, the portfolio of 7 applications that we think of in lead-to-money that really are just one, helping the sales guy sell more. In the large enterprises, they tend to be buying still point solutions. And there's an interesting set of reasons for that. But so our market is really bifurcated, a burgeoning SMB market and a very healthy enterprise market, but they tend to be bigger implementations of point solutions. And I think that will change over time.
Where do you think your market is in terms of market adoption, or the percentage of organizations in your target market that have acquired these types of solutions?
I think that less than 5% of the Fortune 500 have tried to do a lead to cash or lead to money implementation. And I think those that have done it by composing, putting together silos. So they bought an application from a contract application from one vendor, a price and quote application from another, a commissions application from another, marketing automation from another. And those are the leading edge, and those are the guys that are saying, wouldn't it be better if I had one data architecture? Wouldn't it be better if I had one vendor doing more of this? It's the kind of the sweet tends to always win, I think, and that's the logical progression. So the penetration on the silos is higher. It might be in marketing, it might be as much as 20% of companies that we believe today are worth selling to. And that's still low penetration, and commissions is still less than 10%. We find every day large companies who still have not automated their commissions process. And there's a whole understanding of the problem that's missing there, and our job is to evangelize that and let them understand the problem. So the addressable market is massive. It's really every Salesforce around the world now for the lead to money suite.
So you've got a very large addressable market. That market is very much in its infancy in terms of adoption. What's it going to take for your target market to cross the chasm to a mainstream adoption?
So as I mentioned already, some companies are putting together their own lead to money story, build a bit in-house, buy a few components, do the integration themselves, or engage a partner to do that. They're the thought leaders. They don't know that there's an alternative, and they don't know that there's a whole piece of thought leadership around this, particularly the data part, the data architecture, and particularly the proposition that says, I want to be able to analyze the data. I want to see the relationship, and I use this all the time, between our contracts and our leads. And, you know, typically the contract number is a lot smaller than the leads number, the funnel effect, as you know. But I want to understand that relationship, and I want to understand it empirically, and I want the data to be perfect. I don't want to be told a story through BI and analytics that's working on subjective data. I want it to be working on the real data of the business, and for that, I really have to have the contracts linked with the marketing process. Marketing department, marketing automation supports marketing department, passes over leads to a salesperson with some notion of quality, with some notion of value for a lead, so that the salesperson isn't just trying to work a very cold lead. He then creates a campaign. The way he does that today traditionally is through email, normal communications with the customer, telephones and meetings. We record that in a sales enablement portal. So we record all the content so that he can have a guided dialogue with the customer, refer back to it. More critically, he can see how his customer is taking that information, how he's consuming the information in the sales cycle, a request for a proposal, quotations, competitive digest, a Gartner report. How is my prospective customer consuming that? That will tell me something about the heat of this, the quality of this opportunity. From there, I want to create an engagement through a professional proposal, proposal with a return on investment statement, with a healthy financial proposal as part of it that's fair and valid, and it's a win for both of us. And from there, I want to iterate that proposal and use that as my background document for a deal. Once I get the deal, I want to be able to start the contracting process with the customer. Traditionally today, that's done with Word and spreadsheets. There are a few contract management vendors out there, but they're very hygienic, is the way I describe them. They do very basic things. Our version of contract management is to link it to configured price and quote. So we take the prices from a proposal, we pop them into a contract, a first cut of a contract, and we use that as the basis for iterating the contract to a close and a signature. We work with DocuSign to create the signature. The point of that is we're speeding up the sales cycle with automation. We're massively speeding up the sales cycle. So the salesperson doesn't have to go through finance for approvals on pricing because the matrix is already there. He doesn't have to go through legal as much for the redlining of the contract. We're speeding that whole thing up. And we're automating and we're providing an audit trail. And so it helps, the benefits of the company are massive. To the salesperson, the idea is to remove technology from his sales. So stop having, we don't want him messing around with spreadsheets and Word documents. We want him to automate it every time. And we want him to take those and build his own library of proposals and quotes so that he can iterate those into other clients later on, speeding up that part of the process. For the company that he works for, we want to be able to look at the data that underpins that whole lead to money cycle, and we want to draw inferences about the performance of a salesperson, a product, or a region, whatever it is that we're looking at. And we want to make actionable insights so that we can do things about performance. And that's missing from the disjointed approach. It's really a simple concept, but because prior to cloud, it was hard to think about it. And then prior to second generation cloud, we've been training our customers to buy in silos. The customers are asking for something else. And 50% of our roadmap we probably innovate and build ourselves. The rest of it is a customer-driven project.
So for companies that are currently sitting on the sidelines, but believe they may benefit from a lead-to-money cloud or for sales and marketing effectiveness software, how do you recommend they get started?
I think they should look at, first of all, have to understand the concepts. But I think they should look at a division or a group where they have a very good sales force that's already working well using the traditional processes or tools they have in place. And they should, so a successful group that's going to make a success of an implementation. And they should start that way, so they don't have to go big bang, and that's the beauty of the cloud. You don't have to go big bang anymore. So they should start, if they've got 500 salespeople, take 50, take 10% of the field, wall them off, make the thing fly. That's my ideal. It doesn't often happen that way because the customer is such a burning need by the time he gets to us. He needs to go big bang. But that's the way I recommend. And prove the lead to money thesis for yourself first, and then you can roll it out.
I have found that performance metrics are particularly helpful in identifying goals, measuring progress, and knowing when course corrections are needed. But the key to performance metrics is to make sure that you're measuring the right factors.
Yeah.
For organizations adopting lead to money or sales and marketing effectiveness software, what do you recommend as the most salient metrics that adopters need to keep their eyes on?
There's a lot, but the key ones that I think about are, go back to my leads and contracts relationship. What's the relationship between the contracts and the leads? And if there's a huge disparity and a pattern over time, so I guess a very small number of contracts and a very large funnel, there's something usually wrong with that picture. It means that our qualification of the opportunities isn't right, our target market isn't right, our marketing, branding, messaging isn't right. There's something that needs to be tuned there. So it's, I really want to understand that. Contracts and leads, because everything that happens in between there is about the sales behaviors of an individual. When you drill into those sales behaviors, there unfortunately is a very high correlation between closed contracts and just activity, literally activity, almost activity on the field of play. The more you run after the ball, the more you're likely to get it. And so we see the successful salespeople are making more calls. They're putting in longer hours, sadly, but they're making more calls. Mm-hmm. They're making more propositions. They're testing out more ideas. They're adding more value to their proposals. They're adding components. They're building up value for the customer. And so if we deploy the coaching solution, we can see the digital pulse of a salesperson. We can see the digital footprint as we track him through his campaigns. And it becomes very transparent where the high activity players are and where the low activity players are. There are always outliers. You'll get individuals who can do their entire number with one deal in a year, mm-hmm. and it would appear their activity level through the rest of the year is low. But in general, there's a high correlation between people who spend a lot of time learning, relearning, and learning the product and the process, practicing, calling, and proposing.
I suspect you'd agree with me that no business technology is a panacea, and that all application deployments incur risk and obstacles. What do you think the primary risk is when deploying these types of solutions, and how do you recommend that clients mitigate those risks?
Okay, so it kind of goes back to something I said earlier. In the cloud, we can initiate projects with smaller groups and be successful incrementally versus big bang. Mm-hmm. I always prefer that. Mm-hmm. We went to cloud internally ourselves using our own sales applications, 7 or 8 of those. We used NetSuite for ERP on the back end of the business. We replaced Microsoft Mail with Gmail. Mm-hmm. We replaced SharePoint with our own sales enablement portal, our general purpose portal. But we did it incrementally, and it was a success. Every one of them has been a resounding success. And they've dramatically affected the growth of the company in the last 8 quarters. But what I try and recommend to our customers is, try and get away from that big bang approach. Sure, we always like a bigger deal, we like to do a big deal, but we'd like to see success incrementally first. For me, that's the key. And then the second is to understand that we're making a big investment, and the program of adoption has to be well thought out. And training and adoption has to be thought out. And the way I think of the adoption is, I like to get 80%, if I can get 80% of the people there through training and them seeing the wisdom of the new tool, because nobody likes change. I'll get 80% of them there through the wisdom of it. I'll get 10% of them there through pure dictatorship, and I'll probably have to let the other 10% go. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I think of adoption, because we're investing and we need to get a return. So those are the risk areas. Am I going to get adoption early enough? Am I going to go big bang and risk everything? Am I going to get disillusioned because I have a very long implementation cycle? Those are the risk areas.
Well, I think with that prescription, we're probably at a good break point to conclude our conversation. This is Chuck Schaefer. I've been joined by Leslie Stretch, President and CEO of CallidusCloud. Leslie, thank you for your comments and insights, and thank you for joining me today.
It's great to meet you, Chuck.
Likewise.
Thanks very much.